listen with interest, and what's more, ask them a lot of questions as well. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's begin our panel discussion for this afternoon. The topic is, it's not skills versus intellect. Education must provide both. I now request our chairperson for this panel discussion, Mr. Prabhuchawla Agnihotri, Director IIM Trichy, to please make his way onto the stage. A warm round of applause for him, if you will. We're also very happy to have here with us Mr. Anupam Kher, eminent actor and founder, Actor Prepares. Mr. K. Hariharan, Director, LV Prasad Film and TV Academy. We can continue applauding for all of them. We also have here with us Mr. S. Ramalingam, Director, Pearl Academy of Fashion, Chennai. We'd also like to welcome onto the stage Ms. Vidya Yeravdikar, Principal Director, Symbiosis Society. As always, the chairperson will begin their introduction of the topic, and then we will move forward to the panelists' discussion, and we will make sure that you get some time for your Q&A. I now hand over the proceedings to Mr. Prabhuchawla Agnihotri.
How much time do we have?
50 minutes.
What time we are supposed to close? That's not possible. It's 2:10. We are starting, ma'am. 3. Okay. Good afternoon to you, ladies and gentlemen. It's really difficult to speak in a post-lunch session, and especially when you had a nice sumptuous lunch at ITC. We generally realize what is the heaviest thing in the world after lunch. Eyelids. They come down and they refuse to go up. Whatever rules of physics you apply, they just don't go up. But I'm sure the eminent panelists in this panel, especially celebrities like Mr. Anupam Kher, my friend Mr. Hariharan, Dr. Vidya Yerwadkar, and Mr. Ramalingam, through their inspirational speeches, will keep you awake, and let's hope that we shall have a nice post-lunch session. The topic is, it's not skills versus intellect. Education must provide both. I don't know why the controversy about education always takes place on whether it is skills or intellect. Why not both? And if there is any controversy in the eyes of or in the minds of the stakeholders, we educationists must reflect on it and think if we have gone wrong somewhere. It is traditionally believed in India, and this tradition is not far away, maybe since Britishers started ruling us, the education and educational system gives conceptual knowledge and provides theoretical pundits. Well, let me start with this panelist, and let me start the discussion with them, and maybe I'll come back in the end if we get time to summarize, to conclude, or while taking question answers, will present my points of views. That's a disadvantage when you are a chairperson. Okay? You can't give your own points of views in the beginning. You have to wait till the end, and then meanwhile someone steals your points of views, and you have to say, as also said by. Okay? Can't help it. Let me start with Dr. Vidya, as she has to leave a little early. She has a flight to catch, and may I request her here to present her views on the given topic. Dr. Vidya.
Thank you, Praful. My esteemed panelists and delegates and esteemed members in the audience. I wasn't invited here to speak. It was my father, who's the founder of Symbiosis, Dr. Muzumdar. For some reason, he could not come, so he told me to kind of, take his place, which I can never do. But nevertheless, I may be able to give you some of his thoughts, which I discussed with him yesterday. I don't know whether the HRD minister has spoken in the morning, and if he hasn't, then I am going to give you some statistics, otherwise it will be a repetition. We all know that India is the third largest higher education system in the world, next to the US and China. And from a meager 30 universities around independence, we have now come up to about 700 universities and 35,000 colleges. I'm just putting a context of the higher education system, and I hope that no one else has done it since morning. I hope so, Vaidya. And therefore, I'm putting this. From a gross enrollment ratio of just about 0.4, we are now a little better to about 19.4, and we hope to achieve about 30 by 2020. By this I mean that presently there are just 19 young students who are in the higher education system, as again in 100, as against what we expect, at least 30 to be in the higher education system. And we have a total student enrollment of about 20 million, maybe 25 million if you add the distance education also, from what was just about 0.2 million around independence. And as I said, the government wants to put in another 10 million by the end of the 12th plan. Now with all this, we have a question in our minds, whether it is just about putting all these young people into the higher education system, or is it making them employable and worthwhile and have again gainful employment. Now towards this, I think the government set up what is called as the National Skill Development Policy, and therefore the National Skill Development Corporation, because the government believes that by 2022 there will be almost 500 million skilled workforce is what they want to put in. Now, is this possible? We hope that it will be possible, and we know Dilip Chenoy and others at the National Skill Development Corporation are doing excellent work. But I think it is the university system or the whole higher education system, whether it is universities or colleges or institutions like the ones that are represented here, do pitch in and help in this whole process of employment. In this context, we can say that India has a demographic dividend. By this I mean that we all know that we have the youngest population, a population around the age of 25 years old, and it will remain so for many more years. So do we want to create this as a demographic dividend, or we want to create or transform this into a demographic disaster, is something that we all as educators need to ponder on. As I said that there are just about 19 youth in 100 that are in the higher education system, which means there are 81 who are left behind. So this is a big challenge. So one is that there are almost 81 young people who are not in the higher education system, which is a challenge for India. And the other challenge is that those 19 out of 100 who are in the higher education system, will they get employment after they pass out their degrees or postgraduate programs? To give you a little more statistics, there are 73% of students who are in the general education system, and by this I mean the arts, commerce and science streams, which also means that there are just 27% who are in professional streams, which is engineering, law, and management and health sciences or medicine. Now we hope that this 27% is at least employable, but we all know that even out of these 27%, there are a lot of young graduates who are engineers and other professionals, management professionals, who do not get jobs. So the challenge in India is not just about unemployed youth, but also about educated unemployed youth, and which can be dangerous and which can be a demographic disaster. So what is the role of a university? And when we talk about education and skills and the topic for discussion, education, to my knowledge, is imparting knowledge, but it is for the students or for the teachers to see how this knowledge that is imparted to a student becomes applicable so that he becomes employable. Skills, I would equate it to training, which means if you look at the dictionary meaning of skills, it is actually training a young student to do a particular task. Now, at our university, we've done some experiments because we believe that it's not just about educating our young people, but making them wholesome individuals, honing up their personalities so that eventually they become global citizens. Now, if this is in our mind, we have to make them good people, good human beings. We also have to give them a degree, so we have to educate them, which is we have to impart knowledge. And the third most important thing is that obviously we have to give them such a knowledge that they can apply to the outside world, which means we also have to skill them with certain skills so that they become employable. Now, with this in mind, we have carried out some experiments at the university, which I will like to share with you. We believe that all professional courses that we run should also have liberal arts along with it. By this, if I would elaborate, for example, in our engineering school, we don't want to produce technocrats. We also want to give liberal arts education. So our engineering students, along with their disciplines of engineering, which could be mechanical, electronics, and so on, also learn courses like humanities, social sciences, management, history, English literature, and a foreign language. Now, when he started this experiment, there was a huge uproar. In fact, most students didn't like it. But at the end of 4 years, they realized that that is something good for them, because they will not just join at a level which are technocrat level, but they join at a little higher level because they have a worldly wise knowledge of other subjects as well. Similarly, in some of the programs that were skill-based, for example, we did an experiment of starting a 3-year degree program in photography, which is a bachelor's in photography. Not many universities in India would have this. And in fact, we wondered whether we will get students for a 3-year degree program when photography is like with a click of a button on your iPhones and other phones, you can click photographs. You also have a dime a dozen photography schools, training schools all over the country. Why would anyone come? But again, this was in our mind that do we want to create just photographers who are trained professionals, or we really want to create educated personnel? And therefore, we started this bachelor's program in photography, which is a 3-year degree program. Along with the skills of photography and the science of photography, we teach them English literature. There are a lot of courses of liberal arts, and students are enjoying it because they can relate all that to photography. For example, a student might become a photojournalist, and if he wants to become a photojournalist, he obviously needs to know English literature. He needs to know politics, he needs to know political science. So all these courses are also there by the side of the technical courses of photography. We have a program called medical technology. Now, as a doctor, I'm a medical doctor by training, no longer by profession. So as a doctor, I know that, in hospitals, we used to have ward boys who were upgraded to become technicians. So a ward boy who would work in our X-ray department would become an X-ray technician. We again carried out an innovative experiment and said that with the kind of healthcare system that is growing in India, do we really want to produce technicians, or do we really want to produce technologists? Now, there's a difference. So we created a program which is called BSc Medical Technology. Again, I don't know how many universities, maybe there are a couple of universities more than us who are doing this program. But it is a very sound program where anatomy, physiology, almost most of the basic sciences that are taught in medicine are taught in this program. And by the end of 3 years, we have produced excellent human resource for the healthcare industry, which are medical technologists who are not just working for the hospital sector, but even in companies like GE, Siemens, and, for example, our BSc Medical Technology in radio imaging sciences and cardiac cath labs. And so we've seen hospitals that now advertise saying that we need BSc Medical Technology people. Emergency medicine. So we've done a lot of such, experiments where we combined employability, which is skills and training, with education, which is imparting knowledge. But on the other side, we also felt that there is a strata of people who we need to give skills only. They may not want to come into the higher education system, or maybe they cannot afford the higher education system. And for them, we've created what the US system also has, community colleges. So around the neighborhood of our 300-acre university campus, there are small villages around. And when our management, we gave this exercise to our management students, and when they went around, they realized there's a huge lot of unemployable youth doing nothing. But they were interested in doing something, but not interested in coming into the mainstream higher education. So we set up community colleges in the Gram Panchayat schools. So after the schools got over, our community college, was conducted. And we have skill-based programs in these community colleges, specifically for specific sectors. So for women, there are even courses like, training them for beauty parlor, and, even health assistant courses, and of course, computer literacy and English proficiency and accounts and so on and so forth. So we trained another manpower which was skill-based through the community colleges, and this whole, all these community colleges come under the Symbiosis Skill Development Center. So these are innovative experiments that we have done, because we believe that the Indian higher education system, which is always and always compared even by people sitting in Delhi in the Ministry of HRD, with the American education system. And we believe that we have to be different because we belong for a different population and we belong to a large population, and therefore why should we be compared with the West? Why cannot this country have its own education system? And we believe that our higher education system should not be a triangle, it should be a square. And I'll just elaborate in 2 minutes and I will end. By square I mean that on one side of the square is expansion, because we know that we need to expand, we need to provide education to a large sector of people from different areas. The other side of the square will be excellence, because all that we do should be quality. The other arm of the square should be inclusion, because as I said, we have community colleges. We also are a university which was started by my father for foreign students. So we have special scholarships for students coming from developed countries, because we believe that our mandate should not just be India, our mandate should be the world. So why not we, produce human resource for other countries as well, and countries that really need us to produce human resource for. So inclusion, so excellence, expansion, inclusion, and the other arm is employability. So we believe that a square is stable, whereas the American system is what we believe is a triangle, which is on one side, of course, is excellence. On the other side, it could be expansion. And on the base of the triangle or any of the arms of the triangle is exclusion. So instead of inclusion, it is exclusion, because more and more people are excluded out of the system. So I don't need to elaborate that further. And we believe that a square is far stable than a triangle, and the Indian higher education system needs a square, which means it needs to impart education, which means it needs to impart intellect as well as skills to produce a demographic dividend for the country by 2030, or achieving a gross enrollment ratio of 30 by 2020, which is not just knowledgeable, but employable too. Thank you.
Okay, I now invite Mr. Hariharan, who's director of L.V. Prasad Film and TV Academy, to share his views.
Good afternoon. In this world of cinema, where I come from, I am one of those very privileged few who have managed to attend a course in film direction at the FTII in Pune between 73 and 76. But we were very few in number who went to get this kind of very elite training. I'd like to begin by saying that somewhere in this balance between skills and intellect, the film industry has lost a bus, completely ignored, demonified, and completely ostracized from anything called education. I've been several times to the IITs to give several lectures there, and I would always ask, why did these IITs not open a department called film technology? They would have naval technology, they would have printing technology, but not for films. Because films are always looked down upon. I will go to that issue a little later. Let me give you two incidents about how this divide between intellect and education happens, or skill sets and intellect happens. Usually I go to the film shootings, and when I would be taking a shot in the middle of a street or somewhere, I would have a very elderly man coming next to me with a 15-year-old boy, 16-year-old boy with him. And the boy is always, he's looking with the stars sparkling in his eyes, looking at me next to the camera. And after a while, I would ask him, yes, what do you want? He said, this is my young boy. He wants to become a film director. Can you please take him? I said, what have you studied, 10th standard. I said, well, if you're 10th standard, come on, finish your education. Why are you coming here? No, sir, this boy is really interested in film direction. He does not want to do anything. I said, no, he must do some education. He must study. And the father said he has done 10th standard 3 times, so I think he's not fit for anything else but film direction. That's one thought. That film direction does not really need any education. On the other hand, I would get a student, to my academy, Prasad Academy, and he would show off all his films, he's got DVDs, this many, and he can tell stories. He's a filmmaker already. And he said, and I asked him, why you are already a filmmaker, why do you want to do cinematography, I come here to refine my tips. I want some little tips from you, how to make myself a great filmmaker. So which means he feels that he is completely empowered technologically. All he needs is a little amount of intellect from me, and then he would do it. So we have these two extreme opposites kind of people in this country we think that they're all left brain loaded or right brain loaded. I have, in my academy, every year, at least 50% of my students are MTech graduates, MBBS, dentists, architects, chartered accountants coming to me and say, we want to learn film direction. And I said, why did you do chartered accountancy? I did that for my father, But I want to be a filmmaker, So here is a boy who has gone, his right side of the brain is so heavy, he's almost got a lift. He wants his left side also to grow up a little. So, this is one side of the problem in managing between intellect and education. The other side of the problem is a rather historical one. And that is, we have all gone through education systems in schools and colleges, which have largely driven us on very single focus lengths. And today it is the most ridiculous school education system, which is commerce, biology, physics, mathematics. As if nothing else exists in the world. The whole world of liberal arts, or music, dance, drama, poetry, everything is gone. It is just these three focus. And if you are not good for any of these three, go make movies. And that's what they happen. They all come because they are all not done well in their exams, so they come to make movies. The third area is another complicated area, and that is, you see, for me, Indian cinema is a miracle at work. An absolute daily miracle at work. I'm sure 99% of you here would not even know what is the actual financial turnover of Indian cinema. It's a staggeringly ridiculous figure of 8,500 crores. In 8,500 crores, this film industry produces films in 16 different languages, 1,125 pictures, released in 12,500 cinema theaters across the screen, employs 350,000 people, and just 8,500 crores, which is equal to about $1.5 billion. One film called Avatar collected $3 billion. Twice the turnover of the entire film industry. So what does it show to us? It tells us that there is a film industry which is completely lagged behind in terms of its industry, but in terms of its popularity, it's right at the forefront. It's so much right at the forefront that it occupies 4 full or 8 full pages every day on our daily newspapers. You get to know exactly what Katrina Kaif had for breakfast yesterday. You wouldn't know where Mukesh Ambani went to last night, Right? That is the impact of this information. But on the other hand, the film industry is a very poor industry. But we believe, we would love to believe that all filmmakers are very rich people, that they are loaded with cash. It's simply impossible. It's a total mythology. So that's the third paradigm I have to come. So first is my problem of education. 2, the perception of cinema. And 3 is the industry. So what happens is, because it is such a low capital intensive industry, you do not have the big corporates stepping into this business. Like Infosys or the Tatas or the Birlas, they don't step into making movies. What is making a film for somebody like Reliance Group, It's nothing. It's nothing in their turnover, it is just, but they do not want to come into this because it is truly constructed as an industry in the feudal framework. The film industry is still in the feudal framework, run by landlords, which I'm not saying it in a pejorative manner, I'm not looking down upon it, but it is run by highly individualistic producers. So this 1,200 pictures that I'm talking about in this country is virtually produced by 1,100 different producers. It's virtually an independent cinema at work. Such a labor-intensive industry, 3,25,000 people for just 8,500 crores requires some deep study. And there is a crisis here. There is a serious crisis here that you come into locations where you see films are shooting. Most of them are earning nothing on a daily basis. If they get their per diem, per day, they'd be very happy. In many of the films in Kannada, in Tamil and Malayalam, in the lower budget films, if they get breakfast and lunch, it's good. Right? So we are looking at how do I train skill sets for such people? And I have been on the FICCI committee training skill sets. And they give me this big volume, They should know how to do this, PowerPoints on this, they should do Excel sheets. I said, what are you talking, What are you talking about doing Excel sheets on their daily process management controls? There's nothing like that exists. So instead of trying to see how did this miracle actually function, trying to study some of the processes of how do these films actually get made, they would like to superimpose a system, say, usually used at University of Southern California, and would say, this is how they teach filmmaking at Southern California. And this is the document that you have to preserve, and now if you follow these documentation procedures, you would make a good film. How does it happen? How do you good documentation, how does it produce good films? Right? So we need to, I don't think that I have solutions. I don't have solutions to say this is the right balance between, I may have some personal solutions. For example, I would strongly believe that for a good film director, for a very good film director who comes into my class, I tell him or her that you got to be a good singer first, that you got to learn music first. Now that's my way of learning. If I look at a cinematographer, I said, you have to learn painting. You must know how to do a painting first before you actually switch on this camera. Because what is there in this camera today? This whole idea of skill sets with the development of digital technology has simply become a joke, because anybody and everybody can make a film. And here are these cameras, and none of them are educated in any film schools, and they are operating it with enormous skill. It's perfectly in focus, the sound is good, you don't need any training for this. So this whole set of skill set business has to be really understood. The skill set is in thinking. You must provide skill sets for thinking and not for operating digital cameras anymore. And that thinking, you need to go back and not dismiss it as some jugaad, and say, yeah, aise hota hai. Aisa kuch nahi hota hai. Kya baal hai? There is a system which is functioning in the way lyric writers write their poems, or musicians compose their songs, or actors come up with some unique gestures on the screen. There is a system that is functioning. It is not organized. So it is left for the industries now to go inside and say, how do we actually find these processes? There is a process there, but we got to unravel it. Instead of simply dismissing it and say, this is all rubbish. This filmmaking is anybody can make a movie and anybody can understand a movie. The last point here is that we are now at the cusp of a very, very new technology that is coming, which is virtually going to make this camera redundant in a matter of 3 years. Completely redundant. There are new technologies like graphene technology coming up, augmented realities, immersive realities. They are all there. They are at the cusp there. And before you say anything, they would be there on the screen. They're already going to attack you. So we need to go back and forget a big chunk of the past and reinvent ourselves for the future. And for that, I have found a solution. You got to train creative engineers. You got to teach engineers how to make movies. You got to teach doctors how to tell stories. You got to tell chartered accountants how to act. So if you go back and develop their creative faculties in the right ways, you have actually done a better job than actually going out to train a person who has no intelligence from the beginning to start making films. And I think that is where the solutions are. That a new emerging digital media technology is going to come up with such amazing visuals and sounds that all of us need to reflect on this and do a great job so that the next generation is extremely informed, intelligent, and creative at the same time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hariharan. Now, may I invite Mr. S. Ramalingam, Director of Pearl Academy of Fashion Chennai, to share his views.
If you really carefully look into the panel background, I think all of us, most of us belong to the creative industry, creative space. In fact, yesterday I was just exchanging my cards to somebody during the lunch, and he asked me, like, what are you doing? I said, I'm involved in the fashion education. Then the gentleman asked me, what are you doing here? Anyway, I'm not going to talk about the thing, but some of the people must be wondering, when I say fashion education, fundamentally we are in the design-based education and also in the business side of the design and the fashion, right? And instantly the film, fashion, it's all being interpreted in a different way by different people, right? So the question is, in this kind of industry, so whatever I'm going to talk quickly, what I'm going to share with you, it is from the perception of the creative based education. So some of you must be wondering where this fits in our kind of creative based education. You'll be also surprised to see, we also run 2-year postgraduate, post-diploma programs in the fashion design. And you will be really surprised to see the number of computer engineers and the BEs applying for this program. Unfortunately, as it was rightly pointed out, somewhere along the line, there's a general tendency for the people, because of the parents we didn't take, but now that I finished my parents' dreams and, I fulfilled, let me do what I want to do in life, right? So, I think, let me first contextualize, where this fits in, this, this topic of skills and the intellect. Let's first try to get some clarity in terms of what we really mean by the skills, and, to cut short the thing, I am particularly focusing on the transferable skills. Whatever may be the industry, whether it's a film industry or whether it's a fashion industry or whether it's engineering. Today, if you really look into most of the programs, it's all market-driven programs, right? I mean, most of them, fundamentally, on the top, the priority goes to the enrollment of a program or the enrollment, So when you come down, when you use the top-down approach, you'll realize when you talk about the enrollment, the single most factor which influences the enrollment is the placements. I mean, the student experience and all those things comes later. But the first, whether we like it or not, the purest, but end of the day, I think the system, the people are looking for something tangible. A tangible outcome is required, and obviously the placements plays a very important role. And when you say placements, I'm talking about again the employability. I think in the past 2 days, people talked and discussed quite a bit about the employability. So if that is going to be the primary objective or the direction of any institute or any program, then what we are talking is that employability is directly related to your transferable skills. When you say transferable skills, for the simplicity, what we are talking is the ability to articulate and, the interpersonal skills and, so on and so forth, and social skills and all that. I think a lot of people talked about it. So let's focus our attention on the transferable skills, which is directly related to the employability. When we say intellect, again, for the simplicity, I'm just saying that, it's fundamentally, it boils down to the knowledge and the understanding of that particular domain. Now, do we need both? Knowledge is one thing, and applied knowledge is a different thing. Whatever may be the sector, whether it's in engineering or fashion or whatever it is. If you're talking about the applied knowledge, it's quite obvious, you got to have skills as well as the knowledge and the understanding. It just goes together. There's absolutely no doubt about it. Now the question is, does our education system provide both? To be very frank with you, it's debatable. Now, let's go to the next stage. What is right or what is wrong, or where is the fit in our education system when we talk about the skills and the intellect? Is it tough to give both? To be very honest with you, I've been involved in the industry, in the fashion industry, and, I look at the fashion in terms of the lifestyle, retail, and, fashion industry. And, there's a huge industry behind that. So, when we talk of the transferable skills, as well as the knowledge and understanding, what we are talking is the domain knowledge as well as combining both. And from my experience, if somebody says, I'm going to run a program at the end by the time the students graduate, whether it's a 4-year program or a 3-year program, I'm going to give a small, the module or whatever it is, the course, whether it is the ethics or whatever it may be, fundamentally, what we are talking is, at best, we would be creating only an awareness among the students about those areas. But when you really look into the effectiveness of having just a course, what I'm trying to talk is what I'm trying to say, that effectiveness cannot be just given in one course. The point I'm driving home is when we really look into our education system, all these transferable skills should be embedded in the curriculum. It should be embedded right from the thing. We run 4-year program, and when you really look into when these kids come from the school, and it's really amazing to see the kind of transformation that takes place in a creative-based programs by the time when they come to the 3rd year, 4th year. Because fundamentally, we don't believe in having a communication course or whatever it is. We practice whatever transferable skills that are required. We put it in it's kind of embedded in the main core areas. Ability to articulate, as an example, or the interpersonal skills. It can be embedded. It's not tough. It's not rocket science. But the thing is, we have to understand the overall. If the employability, if developing or encrypt, which is very relevant to our creative-based industry, if that is going to be the objective, definitely, when you have a look at what are the essence of the education thing? I think the building blocks of any education system, whether you talk of the creative or whether you talk of the engineering, whatever it may be, there are fundamentally 3, right? You have a curriculum. Then the second thing is the delivery. I'll talk about the delivery, the challenges that are there in the delivery. And the third one is the assessments. Now, all these things are interrelated and it should be aligned, what we call to the intended learning outcome. If the intended learning outcome is directly related to what your institute, what the course wants to do, if the employability is the thing, then please build it in the intended learning outcome and then work backwards and then have the curriculum. Put the structure in place. It's not tough. But are we successful in this? A structure is there. Sometimes we have the challenges of, what should I say, in the area of the delivery. That's a kind of challenge which most of the institutes are facing. What do you mean by the challenges in the delivery? Yes. If you honestly ask me, the curriculum is fantastic. We have put the thing there is everything is there, but I guess end of the day it's an interpretation of the curriculum and the delivery model what we are adopting. I'm talking of particularly the faculty. It's very important to have the faculty training and the faculty competence. You may bring in technology, we may bring in, and the question is you give me a faculty who has got that right mindset, we can build the skills in them. And that should be the continuous thing of any institute, whether irrespective of whatever may be the space they are occupying. Today our biggest challenge is not the shortage of faculty, continuously empowering them, because a lot happens in the classroom. We also have the technology. Now, if you want to bring in these transferable skills within the curriculum, now you have the third component, what we call the assessments. You have a summative assessments, you have the, formative assessments. We greatly believe in the formative assessments. Because the students have the tendency to kind of go through the thing, and if you put them under pressure throughout, you give them the formative assessment, and a formative assessment is in a way to get a feedback for the faculty from the student whether they have got what they are supposed to get, whether the knowledge and understanding is happening. When we create this kind of, the formative assessments, we make sure that there is a group assignments, and by the time when they come to the third year, fourth year, what we call the industry relevant projects, the real-time projects are created, because in a creative kind of education, they have to have their own handwriting, as they progress. They have to have that independent thinking. And that's where, we do have some challenges, because that, at the end, a lot of mentoring happens. So when you do the mentoring, then, again, it's a question of faculty competence. So this is one area where, that's a huge area, the delivery, probably, I'm not talking about the online and, all those things, but whatever may be the technology, whatever may be, whether it's a hybrid system or whatever it is, but at the end of the day, there is an interaction that has to happen in the classroom through the projects. And if the placements have to happen, right from the day one, the faculty and the whole system, they should believe in developing a value-based relationship with whatever industry that we are targeting. And I think also it's equally important to empower the faculty. The system has to be the top management, or they have to recognize the efforts. They have to make sure that, there are recognition rewards. So in other words, the environment should be conducive for the faculty to kind of perform. There's no point, I've been to many institutes, I think unfortunately the focus is more on the building and the physical assets rather than the faculty development in the true sense. I think finally, I think if we have a kind of integrated approach, rather than looking at it in an isolated manner, I think, yeah, sure. So, instead of looking at each thing in a piecemeal manner, somewhere along the line, when we start working with the overall objective and then come down and then build the curriculum and then look at the challenges in the delivery model, I'm sure this gap can be bridged. Thank you so much.
May I now invite Mr. Anupam Kher. I don't think he needs an introduction. But just for the sake of formalities, he is a prominent actor and founder of Actor Prepares in Mumbai.
One panelist has already left. For me, this is a frightening atmosphere. I think I'm among very intelligent people and very intelligent audience. So first of all, I'll request all of my audience members to please get rid of their intelligent expressions and just relax. For me, education and skill don't have such intellectual meanings or answers. With all due respect to panelists on stage, I was trying to understand what they were trying to say. A part of me understood and a part of me was a little confused. Maybe because in my entire career as a student, I never got more than 38% marks. Never. Once I got 39%, my father thought that something has gone wrong with me. In our 100 years of Kher's clan, except for my grandfather, none of us got more than 38% marks. One of my uncles failed in 8th standard 7 times, and he was promoted to 9th standard on compassionate grounds by the principal because his class fellows started calling him uncle. My father did not know, we came from a poor family. 90 rupees per month, 14 people in a house, so he did not know what his children were studying. And when you are born in a small town, in a poor family, education is not the first thing or the last thing that is on your mind. What is important is that how does my father provide the next meal? But having said that, my mother thought that since my father is not paying any attention to my education, so she thought she'll make me sit down and study. The basic point of education, according to me, and that's a very layman's point of view, is about knowledge. Now we have to categorize whether education actually gives you knowledge or skill gives you knowledge. As an actor, knowledge has nothing to do with skill. As an actor, you can be the most intelligent person, but you can be the worst kind of actor. As an actor, you can be the biggest duffer on earth, but you can be a brilliant actor. Because acting has a lot to do with skills. Acting has a lot to deal with understanding human nature. I run an acting school, and I always tell my students that acting has a lot to do with doing than thinking. So it depends on what are you getting educated for. Till my graduation, till my post-graduation, I did not think I used to act in a lot of plays, but I never thought that there are books written on acting, there are books written on theatre, there are books written on Greek theatre or medieval theatre or Sanskrit theatre. So when I actually joined a drama school or an acting school in Chandigarh after I was graduated from Simla, I was horrified to see a huge library on theatre, on cinema, on acting. And before that, in my entire career, from first standard to 14th standard, the only 2 books that I had got from library was James Hadley Chase books. How to Coffin from Hong Kong and Mission to Venice. But in this library, I spent almost 300 days out of 365 days because I was acquiring knowledge not only about Greek theatre, Roman theatre, Natya Shastra, but I was also acquiring knowledge about life. I was acquiring knowledge about how to deal with situations, how to deal with people, how to be understanding person, I was also understanding. First lecture of Mr. Balwant Gargi for us was how to pour, this was my first acting lesson, how to pour tea from a teapot into a teacup. 2 hours of class went into, no, you pick up the teapot, pour it like this, take your time, put sugar. So I asked finally Mr. Gargi, I said, what are you teaching me, sir? This is nothing to do with acting. He said, I'm teaching you patience. And then I realized many years later when I became actor that you paid for patience, not for acting, because you have to wait for shots to take place in the whole day. There are 4 or 5 shots that take place. The rest of the time you are sitting in the van or in the makeup room. Now, I have no idea what chemistry, medical science or engineering, how much education it goes towards intellect. But I think personally, skills and an intellect are part of each other. You may not need a skill how to sort of talk about neutrons or something like that. But a carpenter needs a skill and intellect both. It's very important to have both the things together. It's very important how you teach people at your place, how you educate them and how do you give them skill. My field is acting. I feel that I can make anybody act. For example, Mr. Prabhuchawla, I know you are horrified. Come on stage. Yes.
Now, Prabhuji does a lot of shows on television. Okay. No, Prabhu, you have to come on stage. Now you decide, I'm going to do an acting exercise with Mr. Chawla. Okay. You very rarely get him on this side of the stage. Prabhu, I'll give you 2 lines.
Don't ask question.
No, 2 lines. You have to speak those 2 lines with the emotions that I'm going to tell you.
I have to act.
Yes.
I have to be artificial.
No, you have to be an actor.
Acting is artificial.
Not at all. Acting is believing.
Okay. Acting is the art.
Of believing in what you're doing. I personally believe that if you can lie, you can act.
Since I don't lie, I can't act.
That's the biggest lie.
It's over.
No.
I can't act.
No. This is what I am.
You want me to lie, which I can't, because
So?
I don't know acting. I know only Ram Leela.
So that's the best. I'll give you a dialogue which belongs to me. No. This is important. Your dialogue is, मैं आपकी बहुत इज्जत करता हूं. This is the dialogue. That is only the dialogue.
आपकी या सबकी?
नहीं. आप imagine. I will leave it to you. Who are you saying this to? चलिए बोलिए.
He's teaching me because he's a teacher of acting.
So this his dialogue is, Mr. Chawla's dialogue is, मैं आपकी बहुत इज्जत करता हूं. Now this is
I can add or subtract.
intellect. We are talking about intellectual knowledge. The knowledge he has is, मैं आपकी इज्जत करता हूं. That goes into his command system, and he has to say, मैं आपकी इज्जत करता हूं. Now we'll work on the skill little later. First dialogue, first time, action.
क्षमा करिए, मैं आपकी बहुत इज्जत करता हूँ.
Perfect. ये already acting कर चुके हैं.
पर मैंने I have not spoken a lie. I really respect all of you.
No. One sec. Prabhu, don't be in a hurry to go. You don't let people walk out on a television show. You keep them sticky baat. नहीं, पहले आप मेरी इस बात का जवाब दीजिए.
This is your show, not my show.
Listen to me. I need to put it on. So this, इन्होंने कहा क्षमा कीजिए. First of all, he added a dialogue. क्षमा कीजिए. It was not required.
Because I don't know acting.
मैं आपकी बहुत इज्जत करता हूँ. Say it as a lie that actually you don't, but you are saying.
जैसे आप लोग करते हैं.
हाँ.
As you act, I will do that.
Correct.
मैं आपकी बहुत इज्जत करता हूँ.
Correct. Brilliant. Thank you. So he needed to be a little more sincere while saying a lie. पहला डायलॉग इन्होंने नॉर्मल बोला, क्षमा कीजिए मैं आपकी इज्जत करता हूं. फिर मैंने इनसे कहा कि आप झूठ बोलिए कि मैं आपकी इज्जत एक्चुअली नहीं करता हूं. तो इन्होंने और ये नेता जैसे हो गए, मैं आपकी बहुत इज्जत करता हूं, मैं आपकी पीठ में छुरा घोंपना चाहता हूं. Any skill which does not give you result on the spot needs to be worked upon. Any skill. And because in acting, in every mahalla, there is a Kareena Kapoor and there is a Shah Rukh Khan or there is a Shahid Kapoor, because they can dance on a song number. When they come to our acting school, they feel that this is the easiest thing in the world. मैं तो अपने घर में बहुत acting करता हूं. But what happens is, in real life, we go through all the emotions. We go through the emotion of crying, we go through the emotion of anger, we go through the emotion of hatred. We go through all the emotions and we use those emotions in our day-to-day life. I'm sure all of you get angry, all of you get possessive, all of you hate each other. Sometimes all of you are passionate about it, all of you feel all no-rasas that you are there. Because the command center, which is the mind, tells you to behave. Like I'm using this hand because my mind is telling me to use this hand over here and use my gesture, because it's happening automatically, because the reactions are coming from here. Now what happens in acting is, you already know the situation. For example, when you say, मुझे भूख लगी है, खाना मिल जाता तो बड़ा मजा आता. Now in real life, all of you can say this line, मुझे भूख लगी. I'm sure you've said it to your mother, to your daughter, to your father, to your uncle. मुझे भूख लगी है, खाना मिल जाता तो. Now as an actor, you already know the dialogue. Now what you will do, you will try and act out the dialogue, which will make it different. Sir, please come here, sir. You, sir. Yeah, he is horrified.
What's your name, sir? Yeah, Rajini Giri. Hold on, I'll give it to you. ये माइक बड़ी चीज है. जैसी आता है आदमी माइक लेने का दिल करता है. Sir, your dialogue is, we'll do it in English. I'm hungry, I wish I got food. What is the dialogue, sir?
I'm hungry, I am wishing foods.
I'm hungry, I want food.
Okay.
What is the dialogue?
I'm hungry, I want food.
So, you must have said this so many times at your house?
Yeah.
You have.
So first time we will say it as he must have said it normally. Say it normally, sir.
I am hungry, I want food.
Okay. Now being nervous is very natural because he is suddenly brought out from the crowd.
No.
You are not? Okay, very good. Fantastic. That's why I said that anybody who can lie can act. Sir, now you are saying this dialogue, sir, to your mother.
I am hungry, I want food.
Okay. Very good. Perfect, genuine. Now you are saying this dialogue to your wife, sir. Make sure that the reaction is... He is petrified of saying the dialogue. Because she said, "To apne aap bana lo, main kya karu?" Sir, hold on, sir. Hold on.
Yeah, I will tell.
Yeah, wait, hold on. Prabhuji, बैठिए ना. Sir, you are saying the same dialogue to your mother, to your wife now.
Hey, I am hungry, I want food.
That is the Indian male. Hey, why aren't you making it? Sir, you are not worried about you are not scared of your wife, sir?
No.
Is your wife scared of you?
Maybe.
Maybe. You are saying the same dialogue to your boss. Who is your boss, sir?
No, not here.
Not here.
Yeah.
Okay, imagine, sir.
Sir. Respected sir.
Respected, sir.
I am hungry. I want food, sir.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. My only point was to prove it to you that if you can lie, you can act. So, but what makes an actor from ordinary to extraordinary is that little extra. That you add a little extra dimension. So skill has a lot to do with your eagerness to learn. Knowledge is acquired. And because an actor's knowledge depends on observation, imagination and emotional memory, so the more he deals with life, the more he understands acting. But also acting is a lot to do about delivering. You cannot be an actor and not deliver. So whatever thing you take, whatever part of education you take, you have to put in your own heart into it. Till then, it cannot turn into skill. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
I got a tough task. With such eminent panelists, I don't want to wind up the session without question answer. I'm sure many of you would like to connect with them and ask them some specific questions. Maybe I have 3 panelists, I allow you 3 questions. Please be specific and tell me whom this question is directed to.
Namaskar, I'm Dr. Padmaja. My question is to Anupam Kher ji. Sir, how are you able to motivate your students? Anupam ji, my question is to you. How are you able to motivate your students to concentrate upon merit when today they know and we also know that in the selection process, many a time the yardstick gets bent by those people who belong to a dynasty of stars?
Ma'am, first of all, I'm an eternal optimist. I don't look at life or possibilities with a sense of questioning it. I am a prime example of, if you have to use the phrase, rags to riches stories. I was bald. This is a very sexy and dignified bald look. But when you're going bald earlier, at that stage I went to Bombay. I was on the streets, I slept on the platforms, and I made it. So I give that example. I give examples of Shah Rukh Khan, Akshay Kumar, people who make it. So I think losers think in those terms. When you can't do anything, you blame it on destiny, you blame it on any situation. My grandfather used to say that if you're honest and you work hard, you will always achieve what you want to achieve. And till today, I've never wanted to prove him wrong. So I think life, there are so many things in life which inspire you. And why should the world be kind to you? Why just work hard? If there are 25 people in the class, and in today's time, entertainment business is at the most amazing time. If you don't make it in today's time, then it's your fault. You have to learn diplomacy, you have to learn craft, my first answer to Mahesh Bhatt was, when I was in a very bad mental and physical state, and finally I went to Mahesh Bhatt, and he said, yeah, I've heard that you're a good actor, I've heard. I said, you've heard wrong, I'm brilliant. So it's so many factors. Till today, I am a great optimist. It's your attitude. You get work because of your attitude, not because of your talent. That's what I believe in. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Rachna. My question is actually directed to the chairperson and Mr. Prabhuchawla. And the question is that at a very intellectual conference like the ThinkEDU Conclave, we are not talking about the biggest skill that we need in the country today, which is teaching. And none of the panelists have brought it up. We have all the people from a very creative field, but we are not talking about academics and teaching as the primary skill needed in the country for any development or growth.
Okay. To begin with, I didn't get your name. Thank you, Rachna, for giving me an opportunity to speak. In my opinion, there is nothing like teaching. Teaching, if at all it is there, should end with 4th standard. What should begin thereafter, and which unfortunately in many schools not happening, or most of the schools not happening, should be facilitation, learning. I have a Japanese friend, a Deming Prize winner, very senior teacher, more than 80 years old. When he asked me when we met first, what do you do? I said, I am a teacher. So what do you do? Teaching. And in his Japanese English, he said, teaching is a word of arrogance. Because when you think you are a teacher, you assume that you are the only source of knowledge, and those who are sitting in front of you cannot contribute anything. And it's purely one-way knowledge. So, in my opinion, it should be learning, it should be facilitation, where the so-called teacher, or rather facilitator, should be also part of it. I can show you, if I show you my slides, I can show you a number of points which I have learned from my students. That's number one. Number two, to answer your question, I said in my opening remarks, if you heard, and that's my take on this topic, why should there be a controversy? The theme is, it's not skills versus intellect. Education must provide both. Certainly. I would say the purpose of education is not just to get job. The purpose of education should be to make a person better human being, wherein he should be able to understand what is right, what is wrong, what should do, what should not be done. And in general, the education system per se, and I'm glad that the HRD minister has come at the right time, my boss, okay, should provide knowledge, skills, and attitude. And when I say attitude, I mean the culture, ethics, character building, professionalism. And that should be the role of any education system. Right? I think I can take the rest of the questions offline. Okay? When we meet over a cup of tea, I would be happy to answer this question. Yeah? So, ladies and gentlemen, since the next chairperson of the next panel has come, let me wind up. And on behalf of ThinkEDU, and as the chairman of this session, I take this opportunity to thank each and every panel member over here for having come and shared their thoughts with you. And on my personal behalf, thank you very much, Mr. Prabhuchawla, to you and ThinkEDU for giving me a chance to come here and share my views too. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Before our dignitaries step off the stage, I request Mr. Chawla to hand over mementos as a token of our gratitude. Thank you so much for being here. I'm sure all of them would be more than willing to take your questions offline if you have any for them. And a special thanks to Mr. Anupam Kher because we saw a side of Mr. Chawla that we've never seen before. So thank you for that. A warm round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, once again for our panelists. Thank you very, very much. And a quick photo opportunity with the group.